Hello guys. Um, Let me just set up a few things. I'm sorry for the delay, how life goes. Shit happens. And I'm a dad before being a dev, so I have some stuff to do when the wife is not there. Okay, so the games should be updated on every platform. So each Steam and Android. And I wanted to do this stream to explain you a bit what's in the changelog and describe you the new features, the stuff you requested, and the stuff you needed to be improved or fixed. So I'll go into it right away. Let me just get back to the changelog. And okay, so you should be able to see the full changelog on the last announcement, official announcement I made on the Steam page. I'll give you the link in the chat. Okay, done. So you should be able to see it and to click on it. And so let's talk about the different changes that have been included in this first update. First of all, thank you very much for the welcoming reviews, the comments on the forums, on the Steam forum, and the response has been really positive so far on Steam. I must admit that I was a bit afraid at first because I know the Steam audience is very ex wants a lot from the games. So yeah, but hopefully yeah, you were kind of satisfied. So the first update includes a bunch of new content. The first one is the new campaign missions. So at first we had 10, 10 chapters in the campaign. Each one of these chapters has 6 levels, 5 regular ones and a final one, which is a bit harder than the others. So right now you see that you have 20 chapters in total. So it gives you a very huge battlefield to train before multiplayer if you want to train on solo mode before going for multiplayer. Also, it's not very clear right now in the game, but there is a new leaderboard system that was implemented very like yesterday actually. And let me give you the link to the new leaderboard. I'll give you in the chat too. So when you go to this link, you will see a new page for the stats, and you have for each chapter and each level a first version of the leaderboard for the campaign missions, and you can see the different players that played each level and their performance. So the main statistic is the time passed between the start of the game and the victory. So that's the main criteria for sorting by default. You also have the player score and the computer score, which can be pretty useful to study which part of the game you are doing right or wrong compared to the other players. And so these stats will populate as soon as you play the campaign missions. So if you already played the missions in your in the first version of the early access, you will have to play them again, and to go through the wall mission until you beat the guy computer. And once it's done, the game doesn't show it, but actually it will push Yeah, you saw it actually. It will push the result to the server, and then you will have the stats page updated if you have a new high score. So basically a new victory with less time passed to beat the guy. Okay, so it's another leaderboard that could be pretty useful to some of you that don't want to fight on the multiplayer. So it's a good way to compare yourself to the others without fighting them directly. Um, Actually, something I wanted to explain that not a lot of players actually know. It's the fact that the first chapter has been done by me. So I made the AIs of the computer you are fighting against. And by the way, in this version, I also included a new messages that you can see when you launch one of the missions of the first chapter. So there are tips that will explain you basically how the computer is behaving. So it will give you a short description of its AI basically, and which part of it you should exploit to beat him. So at first you will have very basic AIs that are very easy to beat. So I put some tips on the six first missions on the chapter one, and as soon as you go to chapter two, you are on your own, like said the game. So you don't have any tips anymore, and you have to figure out yourself how the guy in front of you is behaving, what is his strength and weakness, uh, and so adapt your AI and your strategy according to this. And yeah, so all the chapters that are not chapter number one, so from 2 to 20, are actually pulled from the multiplayer. So basically, I made an alternative matchmaking system that has populated the chapter missions according to certain rules, and there's basic formula that will just extract the most relevant opponents from multiplayer matches. And yeah, the formula basically is chapter 2 is with opponents from 1000 score to a 1090. The third one is from 1100 to 1180. 90, sorry. And so basically you just have a plus 100 points for each chapter. So the difficulty should rise progressively from one chapter to another. Inside each chapter, the five first levels are pretty much similar in terms of difficulty, but they are just ramping up just a little bit. And the next one has a bigger gap of difficulty. So you should have a bit more difficulty fighting the final stages in each chapter. But all depends on your AI actually. Yeah, so it goes from the first opponent you will see in chapter 2 must have like around 1000 points in multiplayer. And the last one, the very last one in chapter 20, sorry, has something like 2900 points. So it's very advanced opponent, and it will be much more tricky to beat the last chapters, as you may know already. Okay, so that covers the campaign for now. So don't forget the campaign leaderboard, which is pretty funny. A lot of people are actually already deploying matches and uploading their score. So it's nice to see the first chapter, for instance. There's already eight people populating it, and you see yeah, very good players that are obviously on top. But other guys are pretty pretty good without being in the multiplayer ranked system. So it's fun to see new people there. Okay, still following the new features. Yeah, the PC version now has new buttons in the combat view. It applies to any mode, so I just launched the sandbox mode, but it also applies to campaign and multiplayer. So you see those three buttons. So there are three ways to rewind the playback of the game. So if I put the game on pause, I can. You see that I already passed 33 seconds. And using those different buttons, I can control exactly how much I want to go back in time. So if I use this one, I'll go back to 32, this one 22, and this one will bring me back to the beginning of the match. So it's been requested by the players a bunch of time because by default before there was only one rewind button, and the duration that was used depended on the playback speed you were currently using. So I don't remember exactly the numbers, but basically when you were in normal speed, 5 seconds, I think. Same for pause. But when you were in slow motion, it was a bit longer, and when you were in fast forward, it would go back to 20 or 30 seconds. Not sure anymore. So basically, right now you know exactly how much you will go back, and so if you want to debug a specific behavior of your robots, you can go really slowly and go step by step to see what's going on. Okay, so yeah, I'll go to the next big part of the update, which is the AI editor, obviously. And yeah, I can start by showing you the new folder system. So something that has been requested also a lot by the players. So before you just add a list of AI that you had to sort yourself by using alphanumeric sorting. So it was a bit tricky and not very convenient. So I started developing this folder system, which is basically a V1, so a first version of the system, because it's not perfect yet. But at least it allows you to have some kind of classification in your AIs. Let me just wipe this out. That's just test for me. So let me just create a new AI. So let's say stream test 1, for instance. So by default, the AI will end up in the default folder. But you can move it in a different folder, and for this you have to rename it for now. And you just have to, so as explained in the text above it, you can just say you to include the slash character to make a new folder. So let's say, for instance, I want to make several tests for this stream. I just have to add this slash character here. Click OK, and let me just fold this down. And as you can see, it has created a new folder, which is named stream. And so from now, I can, for instance, duplicate this AI, and it will put it in the same folder because it has the same name actually. If you look at the name, it has the folder name slash the name of the AI. So it can be pretty convenient, but also it has some defaults or some inconvenience. So you cannot, for instance, drag and drop them from folder to folder. It's not been yet implemented, but it will be in a future update. You can also move AIs from a folder to a different one. So if I want this one to go back to the default folder, I just have to remove the folder name, and it will go back to the default folder. I can also put it in a different folder, so string2 slash, and it will put it in the new folder. You can rename a folder, like this, for instance, and it will also rename all the AIs that are inside it. So you can also delete a folder. So if I create new AIs here, and I don't want to remove all of them one by one, so I can just click on this, and it will ask me if I want to delete the folder and all the AI that it contains. And if I confirm, it will delete all the AIs. So I think it will ease a bit your work on the AI. I know that a lot of players requested it to actually separate their main AIs from their sub AIs. So you could do a sub AIs folder for different kind of stuff, and maybe create a new one, which would be the main AIs. And that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, so right now you have the main AIs, and inside them you can use sub AIs that are right there. So it's a more convenient way to classify your AIs, and that's the main reason actually why I started to develop this system. So I hope it will be useful to you, and yeah, okay, so moving on to the next feature. Yeah, a pretty important feature actually. It's kind of a quality of life feature, because it doesn't give you new possibilities, but it is the way to make things compared to before. Let me just be more specific. Okay, so let's create a new node here, like condition on myself, and I want to test that my health is at a certain percentage, and same for the shield. Okay, so it will create a node like this. A thing that you may have noticed is the new how to say it, the new graphical stuff that shows um, with the filter icons, and it's just a way to just a hint to tell you that these two filters are actually combined with the OR logic. Same for this one. And actually, when you don't have links between groups or between filters, it means that it uses a AND logic. So in this case, for instance, I want to check that my AI is between this, so between 25% and 50, and or between 50 and 75. So this is a OR, and I want to also check, so and my shield is between 1 and 25 and 25 and 50. So why did I implement this feature? Actually, it's because a lot of you had difficulties to use, or maybe sometimes understand the fact that when you say, for instance, I want to check that an enemy is not at a certain distance from me. So for instance, for the machine gun, let's say, you may not want to shoot at guys that are at long range or out of range. So a lot of guys were actually doing this. So they were selecting those two distances and just using the negative icon. And basically they were thinking that it was going to check that it's not at long range and not at out of range. But actually the default combination was OR before, and you didn't have this new toggle that I added in this version, which is pretty useful because you can switch the combination method you want to use for filters in the same category. So and as I switch the OR and AND logic, you can see here that the link is changing. So the correct way to do what I wanted is this one. So I want to check that it's not at this distance and it's not at this distance. And so this will be true only if it's basically at medium or short range. And before, if you were doing this with the OR combination, it was actually always true because an enemy is always either not at long range or not out of range. If it's at long range, it's not at out of range. If it's at out of range, it's not at long range. So you get the principle. All right, and also the other problem that this system solves is the fact that when you wanted to check a filter that is in a category that is pretty huge, like this one, like the current action of my target, if you want to check that it's doing anything except attacking me, for instance, and attacking an ally, so attacking my team, basically. Before either you were doing this and it was wrong because once again you are checking OR combination instead of AND, or you had to actually check everything else to ensure that it was not doing those two actions. And you ended up with a pretty huge node actually and pretty ugly and not complete, so yeah, it really was, well, yeah, not very convenient. So right now, instead of doing this, you just can let me uncheck all the rest. You can just check those two actions that are interesting to you. So you don't want them to be true, so you invert them. And this time you use the AND combination. And this way you can check that it's not doing this and also it's not doing this. Okay, so, and you end up with a much more simple node in the end. So that's the main reasons why this feature has been added. I'm sure that the advanced players out there will immediately know what will be the benefits for them, and for new players, I hope I was clear enough in my explanation. Okay, so I covered the filters, the new combination stuff. Something that has been requested for a bunch, yeah, for quite some time by a lot of programmers, real programmers, is the fact that you could not put comments in your code. So when you add pretty huge AIs like this one, for instance, at some point it was pretty uh, difficult to remember what you were doing in this branch, for instance, and why you do this that way. And maybe sometimes you are fixing a bug in your AI, but you don't really remember why this link is there. So some of you guys use the fake sub AIs to put comments like this, and you were changing the name of the AI to put the comments. I'm sorry you had to do this before. Now it will be much easier. You have this new button here that you can toggle by clicking on it, and you click any way you want to put a comment, like here, for instance. It will open a new text box, and you can say, yeah, my comment, why I did this, fixing a nasty bug, etc., etc. Okay, and it will add the comment in your AI. As every other node type, you can duplicate it, you can copy, paste it, you can delete it, you can select it among other nodes. So it's pretty practical. I'm not sure that beta testers already use it actually, but I would be very curious to know what you do with it, guys. So if you have creative ways to use it or just normal ways to use it, you can make screenshots and post it on Steam. So it would be pretty nice to see what you do with it. Okay, and one final new feature is, yeah. So this one is a bit tricky. It's been how to say it? It's like a sub feature of a much bigger set of feature that would be versioning of your AIs, etc. But right now it's not really a priority. I know it's been requested by very advanced players that are using a lot of AIs. I hope that the folder system will help them to classify them and to see to have a better view of what they are doing. And this feature could also help. Let me give you an example. So, for instance, this AI is pretty good, but I just noticed in the last game that I had a bug somewhere, and I can track it. I cannot see what I did wrong in my previous changes. So what I can do is actually go back to multiplayer and find a match where I had a good result. So for instance, this one. So it's yeah 12:05. Okay, and you go back to the editor, and actually here you can specify a match ID. So it was this, if I'm not mistaken. And actually it will download the AIs you used in this match, and it will import it in your AI library. So just check this. It will create a new folder separated from anything else you had before, so it will not override anything you had. And as you can see, it imported all the AIs and sub AIs that I used in my match. And so it's pretty useful when you want to go back to a previous version of your AI. And yeah, it can help you basically to keep track of your changes and go back to, yeah, a previous version if you made a huge mistake in your changes, or yeah, this kind of stuff. And it's not limited to any resolution engine, for instance. So you can download a very old AI in your history. It should work actually, and migrate your AI to the new system. You know, with the new filters. Oh yeah, the new filters. I forgot to talk about it. So this is for the importing of AIs. So just to just to be clear, some players asked if anyone can download their AI from multiplayer matches, and no, you can only download your AIs. So if I enter the match ID of someone else, I will not be able to download anything. It will tell me that it's not my match actually. And also you cannot download the AI of your opponents. So your AI are still secret to yourself. So don't worry about it. Okay, so the new feature also that is pretty important in this update is the new filters um, about the health and the shield. So before we only had 4 filters, which said basically okay, and there's a bug. That's pretty cool to see during the stream. Yeah, 2 bugs actually in the localization of the nodes. Okay, so I'll have to check that. Okay, never mind. So before we just add the 0 to 25, 25 to 50, 50 to 75, and 75 to 100% for the health and for the shield. And so I added something that was that has been requested a bunch of time too, which is the full health filter, the full shield filter, and the empty shield. This one especially is pretty useful, and this one too, but this one is very useful for the retreat strategies. So before you just knew that your shield was nearly depleted, but you didn't know for sure that it was completely depleted. So this one will help you figure this out. And it's the same for being full health or full shield. Before you could not be 100% sure that you will not be at like 90%. With this one, you know that it's 100%. And I'm sorry for the numbers displayed on the filter buttons. Actually, you should rely on the tooltip that you see. So this one is actually from 75 to 99% and not 100. This one doesn't start at 0 but at 1. Same here. No, this one is really at 0 because there was no use adding a new filter that was telling you that you didn't have any health, because if you don't have any health, you're dead, so you don't have your AI running anyway. And this one is not from 75 to 100, but from 75 to 99, obviously. So I'm sorry for that. I will have a patch right after, right tomorrow, I think, to fix that. So yeah, just rely on the tooltip. I decided to keep those filters exclusive, so you cannot have two of them true at the same time. And this is to allow to have a much easier way to differentiate the different cases. And as you may fear, the AI should be changed from what you had before. But don't worry, the game should do it automatically when you load the new update for the first time. So basically, before the update, my AI was actually just from 75 to 100, and the system detected it and changed it to use the two filters, to use the new one plus the older one. So just in case, you should have a quick look at your existing AIs to see if there's not a bug that is being introduced by the migration. But we had a few problems during the test, and it should be fixed now. So you should not have this kind of problem. But anyway, just have a quick look around and see if you are not impacted. And if you are impacted, just leave a message use this button to report a bug, or just leave a message on the forum. Oh, I see we have messages in the chat. So hello to everyone. So Piers say a toggle to show or hide comments would be great. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it could be a nice feature. I'm not sure it would be used by a lot of people, but if it requested a lot, why not? Yeah. It was actually also requested to hide or a way to toggle the tooltips, to permanently have the tooltips displayed. But I think it would become pretty hard to read, so I'm not sure it's a very good idea. But for the comments, why not? Yeah. Another question: can you duplicate an entire folder? No, not yet. No, you can't. But yeah, true, it's also a pretty nice feature. I'll see if I can do something in the next version, maybe with the patch. I'll see if it's not too complicated and not too could not trigger new bugs. But I see what I can do. But nice idea anyway. This thread asks, pretty sure you can't, so no, you can't. Sorry. Would be nice. Yeah, indeed, it would be nice. Yeah. Okay, so I covered the new filters. I think for the new features, that's all for the main part. Let's check out the improvements. So once again, I'll give you the link to the announcement for the guys that just went through the chat. So next chapter is the improvements. So on Steam, yeah, the player accounts are now linked to your Steam account. So if you install the game on a new machine and you use the same Steam account, it should recognize you and link your install to your player account, your Gladiabots player account. So this is a way to ease the process of installing the game. On maybe if you want to go to a friend and show him the game, you just have to log into your account and show him the game. You will have all your progress and AIs already there. If it's not the case, just tell me, because it may be a bug actually, but it should work actually. It's pretty new, a pretty new feature, so it's not been tested a lot, but it should work. Next improvement is in the multiplayer. So yeah, I improved the matchmaking. I won't go too much in details, but you can check out the wiki. Let me just give you the link to the wiki in the chat once again. And so the matchmaking has been improved a bit to actually pick opponents that are much closer than before. Before, the game was actually picking guys between your score minus 400 and your score plus 400. And in this pool of valid opponents, it would randomly pick some of them. But in a lot of cases, the delta between the players was pretty huge. So I improved the system to tell him to search first for players that are in a much smaller score gap, and if it doesn't find it in this gap, it goes for a bigger one until it finds someone. So you should have much closer opponents when you play multiplayer, so it's much fairer. And the feedback for now is that it's much more interesting to fight people that are very much closer to your progress. So you don't have the frustration of beating someone that is really lower than you, or the frustration to be beaten by someone that is way better. So this is it's pretty interesting part of the matchmaking that has been improved. The next one is still for the multiplayer. Oh yeah, it's just a UI thing. Before, all the new multiplayer, all the new tournaments stayed as new until you clicked a button which is not there anymore, and it's been improved to only display new when you look at them. When you see this page and you see a new tournament and you switch to another one, the new tag will be removed, and you don't have the little blue circle in the multiplayer button. Speaking of tournaments, there has been a few tournaments since I launched the early access, which is really cool because there was not so many before that, and it was really interesting to see how it played out. And some players are really creative. So as you can see, this one, the 7 nodes tournament, was very interesting because the constraint was to only have small AIs with 7 nodes maximum, and so you had to be pretty creative to find strategies with very few nodes. So I really recommend it to you if you are new, actually, because it's much less stressing than the ranked part, maybe, and it really gives you new opportunities to win matches. And in the future tournaments, official ones and community ones, I will try to connect with the guys that are organizing them and set up some prizes. I think that the Half Cup was rewarded, and I don't remember if it's this one or this one. But if the tournament is popular, I can say, okay, the first guy, the winner of this tournament will have 10,000 points, unlock points in the game, or this kind of thing. So yeah, I really recommend it to join new tournaments. And please, I see a lot of guys just creating new ones instead, just to test the feature, but it can pollute the list here. So if you create a new tournament, please be sure to really stick to it and organize it until the end, because it's very time consuming. So don't try it if you don't have time to handle it. And yeah, just please don't use it just to test, because it just doesn't help anyone. Okay, another improvement. Yeah, this is a UI improvement. Right now, you have the last chapter you played in the campaign and in the training mode. The game shows you where you were in the last time. So it's pretty useful, especially with the new chapters, because there are a bunch of them. And if you are trying to play like chapter 2 and you already beaten this one, it can be pretty tricky to go back to where you were. So the blue one is always the last one you played. Okay, next one. Training. Yeah, I made some improvement in the training section, but basically it's stuff that players reported to me, like team composition was bugged. You could not create a new AI here and use it. It was just overriding with this every time. So right now you can beat this level by creating your own AI and using it in your team, even if it's not really the objective of this mission. But anyway, I know that a lot of you want to do more than just the tutorial and want to explore new possibilities pretty soon, which is cool. So I'm making the effort to open the tutorial as much as I can without too much disturbing the learning path I want to give you. Okay. Um, Yeah, the AI editor, I improved one feature, which is the duplicate with link feature, where, yeah, for instance here, uh, if I select this part of the AI and I want to duplicate it, it would just create new nodes, but without the links. That's not what I want. If I want to duplicate all the group with the links, I use this button. And as you can see, it created all the same architecture between the links, and also duplicated the parent link, which can be pretty useful. And before, it was actually messing up the links and creating too much of them, so that's basically what I improved. I don't know if a lot of you saw that, but anyway, it's a pretty nice improvement. Also something, yeah, suggested by a streamer recently is the fact that you could have a shortcut on the middle click of your mouse that you could use to recenter the AI. So that's what it does right now. So it's actually a shortcut of this button that you already know, which is a fit screen feature. So if I am working on this part and I want to see the big picture, I click this button, or I just click the middle button of the mouse, and it does the same. It also applies to the AI debugger. So if I go into a match, launch the game, and the same as before, I explore my AI. I want to check exactly what it's doing. Okay, and once I'm done, I can just middle click, and it goes back to fit the screen feature. So it's pretty nice. Um, Okay. Oh yeah, also something that a lot of Steam players actually reported is the fact that if I go to the editor, some of them are clicking a lot very quickly, sorry, and they were actually dragging the background instead of clicking. So I tweaked a bit the configuration of the input system, so you should have much less misclicks than before. So I'm not sure it concerns a lot of people, but the ones that had the problem should understand what I'm talking about. Yeah, also something about the input system. When you click something that needs inputs from the keyboard, it will actually autofocus on the text that you need to type. So you don't have to click on this and then click inside the box. It will directly focus you on the text. It also applies to things like creating a new AI. So you can just type right from the start. So it's pretty convenient. And I think that's there's no other place where you need to type some texts. Yeah, yeah. Here, for instance, you want to set the generation seed or the replay in the multiplayer. So it's the same. You always have the focus on the, and it's not. Oh, I'm typing letters. So you always have the focus on the field. So pretty convenient. Also convenient for the mobile users. Okay, so that's it for the improvements, and I'm not sure I will go through all the fixes. Yeah, oh yeah, just one, the AI tick duration actually. Once again, it only concerns more advanced players that implemented the time counters in the game. So yeah, right now the attack is really taking uh, um, as much time as it's specified in the class statistics in terms of ticks actually. So for instance, the assault takes 1 second to aim to his target, so you will pass exactly 4 ticks because the tick duration is 0.25 seconds. So you will have exactly 4 ticks of AI between the beginning of aiming and the first bullet leaving the cannon. It was not exactly true before. If I remember correctly, you had the 4 ticks, and the shot was actually starting just after the tick. So in the long run, you didn't have multiples of 4 ticks for a lot of shots. Anyway, once again, the guys that are concerned by the problem will understand what I'm talking about. Okay, the next fixes are pretty much exotic stuff. Yeah, some of you may have seen some players in multiplayer actually using the shotgun to use an old exploit, which was actually taking the resource, moving a bit, dropping it, moving a bit, taking the resource, etc., and actually exploiting the fact that you have a distance tolerance when you catch a resource. But this exploit is not valid anymore. Just be aware of that. But visually, when you watch the match at high speed and you had low performance, you see a resource teleporting or just being removed from the game and just not being displayed anymore. It was actually just a visual bug. It was not really the entity was still there, so the AI could not trick the system. It was just visually you didn't see the resource, but it was there somewhere. So this is fixed. Also, yeah, when you go, I'm not sure it will be visible, actually not. But when you watch a game that ends up with a time over, actually when you hit the continue watching, you had all the buttons here that were disabled, so you had to go back or restart the mission to watch again. So it was pretty annoying. So I fixed that. So right now, if you have a time over, you should be able to continue watching, and use the buttons as before. I think the behavior right now is to pause the game when the time is over, and then you will just end up like this, and you can resume or go back or whatever you want. So this is fixed. Um, there were some bugs, yeah, some particular nodes were bugged when you use them in multiplayer. It's not the case anymore. Draws are, yeah, displayed in gray. Before they were like defeats, like in red. So it's much easier to see, to have an overlook of your recent performance. Okay. Yeah, another bug was in the sandbox mode. Actually, when you use like this mission, in the team setup, you uh, you used a certain order in your robots, and it was not always applied correctly in the match. So right now you can see I use assault, shotgun, and machine gun, and when I hit ready, it's in the same order right here, from left to right. When you look at them from the center of the map actually, and it applies also to the right team. So here you have machine gun, shotgun, assault, and let's say sniper. And that's exactly what you will see here. So this has been fixed. I don't remember if it applies also for multiplayer, but I think so. But it was not reported, so I'm not sure it was really important, as all the games are actually randomized. So, but anyway, right now you know that your team will be displayed and instantiated in the good order. Okay. Next ones are, yeah, AI editor bugs. Not really important. Yeah, something annoying was the fact that you could have keyboard shortcuts still applied when you had a pop-up like this displayed. It's not the case anymore. So when you have a panel like this displaying in front of the game, you actually just have the shortcuts of the buttons of this panel. So it was the case, for instance, here you have shortcuts here that you can use to create or modify your AIs. And if you add, I don't know, maybe this panel, for instance, you could still use the shortcuts here, but it's not the case anymore. Same when you type text, you don't have the shortcuts applied. So it was a, yeah, nasty bug, but it's fixed. Okay, and I think that's it. And the last fix, yeah, before I answer the questions in the chat, is the unlock point system, which is used to actually unlock new skins and new customization features. I'm sorry, but the calculation method was wrong before, so I had to actually fix that in the game database. So some of you that used a lot of points to unlock skins should actually see 0 here, and they will actually have to earn some points to see that going back to a normal score, because some of you actually have a negative amount of points, but the game just displays 0 if you have a negative amount of points. So you can win points by playing matches. So by experience, you will increase this level that will unlock you new points. You can be promoted to a higher league that will give you even more points. You also have the campaign right now that has an increasing number of points that you unlock when you complete a chapter. So you have different ways to gain more points. If you still have the problem after that, just contact me or use the bug reporting button here, and I will check if there's not something weird with your specific account. And yeah, the last part is I made some changes here. So the new tags are much more discrete. You have these blue dots here that tell you that you have new things to do. And also the training button has been put below at the end of the list when you completed all the training, because once it's done, it's not interesting to a lot of guys, so I decided to keep it in the main menu but move it at the bottom of the list. So you have the multiplayer and the campaign on top of it, so you easily can go back to what you were doing before. Okay, so let's have a look at the chat. So, do you show gameplay? Yeah, I can show gameplay, no problem. So, if you don't know the game, it's a game where you have a team of robots that will fight against another one. And basically let me show you actually the introduction. So you have your team here. You have the resources here that you have to catch and bring back to your base. And it's kind of a robotic sport. And you have obviously your opponent team that is here in red, and they also have to do the same as you. So the goal here is to get maximum of resources to your base, and the tutorial will show you how it works exactly. So the trick is you don't exactly control your units manually, but actually you design their behavior before each match. So you design them by creating an AI which look like this. Basically, it's a kind of tree that is composed of two kind of nodes. The ovals are conditions and the squares or rectangles are actions. And basically, when you over them, you can see what it does. And basically, what you say your robot is, in this case, you do this thing. If it's not true, you go to the next one. You do this. If you cannot do this, you can do the next one, etc. And this tree is checked several times per second, 4 times per second. And so basically you put the most important thing on the left and the most unimportant on the right, basically. And yeah, it shows you that it will check the tree in this order, so from left to right or counterclockwise, until it finds a valid branch. So in this case, for instance, the AI is very simple. So this node tells if I am currently carrying a resource, then I should go back to one of my base to score it. If it's not true, so if I don't have the resource, I should attack an enemy that is in my range. And if this is not possible, you should go to catch the resource, the closest one. So basically, if I have a resource, I go to my base. If I don't, I shoot the enemy, and if I can shoot it, I go to grab a resource. So in this case, my robot here is going for the resource because the enemy is too far away. And when I unpause the game, you will see that it will change. So as you can see, the enemy went close, so it's in his range. So right now he can perform this action. So he will do this. And once everyone is dead or out of range, it will actually, you see, go for the resource. When someone goes back in his range, obviously it goes back to the attack behavior. And now that he has a resource, he goes back to his base. And nothing else matters because the first one is valid, so he goes for it. And I can split this up. And basically that's the whole point of the game. You don't control your robots, but you specify their behavior before with the AI, and the game will show you very simple stuff at first, and will get much more complicated once you go to more advanced missions. Okay, so I'll let you. So I was replying to Rent Organius. Thanks for the question. So I'll let you try the training. Training mode is pretty complete, and it will show you each feature of the game one by one, so you can learn progressively how it works. It will tell you how to combine your different parts of AI, how to implement teamwork, how to tweak your team composition to have better results, and also the different specificities of the different boat classes. You have 4 types of boats, as you can see here. You have the assault, which is middle class, can do pretty anything, but it's not very good at anything specific. The shotgun is very good at close range. The machine gun is kind of a tank, so it's very resilient and has very strong attacks. And the sniper, well, it's pretty obvious. You can shoot from very long range and do very good damages. But you are pretty weak when someone approaches you. So you have a lot of ways to win or to lose, actually. By combining your different robots, by having different AIs. You can obviously have different behavior for each one of your robots. You can mix any behavior. You can use very advanced strategies to make them communicate between them, to have very sophisticated strategies. So I hope it's clear enough. Let's go to the next question, which is, can you export a selection of nodes into a sub-AI and in reverse import the nodes of sub-AI? Yeah, you can do this. You have a kind of copy and paste system. So if I take my example here, so let's remove this. I don't want to use it. So in my test AI, I use this one, which is a sub-AI. And it has this node. Let's just duplicate it to simulate a big AI. Let's create some actions. Okay, like this, for instance. Okay, so this part I can use the control key to toggle the selection mode here, and I can select all of them, for instance, and hit C to copy, go back here and hit V or paste button, and I can use all this here as it was in the same AI. I could also have done a better thing, which is actually select all of this, Control C, go back, Control V, and it will also create a connector node here that will replicate the links that I had in my sub AI. So it's pretty convenient when you want to do this. And for instance, if I want to create a sub AI from this, so let's say I have this and I want to move it in a sub AI, I just select all of this. Once again, I hit Control C. Here I create a new AI, for instance. Test 2, my sub test 2. I just drop it here, and you can reuse it like this. Then here you just create the sub AI, good one. and you delete this part. Sorry. Okay, that's it. And you have all in the sub AI. So I hope it answers your question. Yeah, guys, in the chat, if you have any question, just ask if it's about the development process, if it's about the game, about the next updates. Yeah, really don't hesitate. I may do a quick pause in a few minutes, just to check if the if the family is still alive. I hope the description I gave you about the updates was clear enough. Once again, if you need more details, if you want more info, please don't hesitate to ask. I'll go back to show you some matches. Maybe I can show you the new AI I made. Yeah, I went back from scratch recently. I wanted to have a behavior using the time left and the score advantage. So this one is not using the time actually, but I thought it was pretty interesting to use the pretty recent condition here, which is about the not this one, this one, which is about the score advantage. So basically, this AI says that I should only. You see, I should have put comments, but comments was not there at this point. But basically, I'm trying to just take care of the resources if I don't have the advantage on the enemy. So it allows me to focus on the attack if I have a score advantage, which is pretty cool. Doesn't work every time, but I had pretty good results so far, I think, in unranked, if I remember correctly. I'm not playing a lot of my own game, actually. Sorry for that. And I am actually pretty bad at my game, which can seem pretty funny, but it's the case of a lot of game devs actually, because we don't have a lot of time to play our own game. Yeah, I forgot to change this one because I'm not handling a shotgun very nicely in this version of the AI. So, as you can see, I took care of the resource because I didn't have the advantage, and right now I have a +1 advantage, so I won't take care of the resource anymore. I think that's the case. Anyway, maybe I should do a new AI from scratch to show you how it works. So the behavior should change once the guy scores. Yeah, you see, this guy is trying to get a resource now because we need to score more resources than the enemy, so that's basically what it is switching for. And I should maybe update my AI to use the new filters. Because the retreat part is oh wow, that's a bug right there. But I think that now the best way to handle the retreat, actually in simple matches, is to retreat only if the shield is completely depleted. But in this version it's not the case. I recommend you to check out Twitch and search for the game. You just search for Gladiabots. And there's a few guys streaming the game, which are pretty cool and pretty good at showing new AIs from scratch. I don't remember exactly the names of the Twitch accounts, but they are pretty creative and pretty good at explaining how to create your new AI and the design process behind it. It's very interesting, especially for new players. I don't know if some of you are new in the chat. Just tell me if you didn't get the game yet, or if you are playing for a long time. Just tell me. It should be interesting to know. Okay, so this match should be a victory. I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay, nice. I think I will pause the stream for now. Maybe I'll come back later. Thank you for passing by. Thank you for your questions. If you have any new questions, please don't hesitate. You can go to the community hub of the game. You can come to the forum. I'll give you the link in the chat. You also have the Discord server, which is very active, very welcoming, guys. I hope I didn't make a typo. No, it's good. So yeah, please don't hesitate to come ask questions about the game, about the development process. I will be happy to answer it, or I'm sure that a lot of players in the Discord will be happy to answer you or to redirect you to a specific channel. So thanks again. I hope you like the updates. Please, yeah, don't hesitate to report bugs, to get to give your feedback on the game. I'd be happy to hear it and yeah, and improve it in the last update. Okay, thank you guys. Bye bye. See you later.